In 1997, one of the most iconic companies in human history was 90 days away from being completely wiped off the map. No iPhone, no MacBook, no AirPods, no Apple Watch, nothing. The entire company gone forever. And the man who saved them? Their biggest rival. This is the story of how Apple almost died and the psychology of leadership that brought them back from the edge.
To understand how Apple almost died, you need to go back to 1985. Steve Jobs, the man who built Apple from a garage, was fired from his own company. Not by a competitor, by his own board of directors. The man they replaced him with spent the next 12 years running Apple into the ground. Bad products, confusing product lines, no clear vision. By 1997, Apple had lost $1 billion in a single year. Their stock had fallen over 80%. They had roughly 90 days of cash left before they couldn't pay their employees. The press had already written the obituary. Apple was finished, and almost everyone agreed.
Then something extraordinary happened. The board made a desperate decision: bring back Steve Jobs. Jobs had spent 12 years away, building Pixar and another company called Next. He had grown. He had failed. He had learned things about business and leadership that only defeat can teach you. When he walked back into Apple, he didn't celebrate. He didn't say, "I told you so." He sat down, looked at what Apple had become, and said one thing: "This is a mess." And then he got to work. His first move shocked everyone.
Steve Jobs called Bill Gates, not to fight, not to negotiate, to ask for help. Jobs proposed a deal. Microsoft would invest $150 million into Apple. In return, Apple would make Microsoft Office available on Mac computers and drop a long-running lawsuit between the two companies. Bill Gates agreed. When Jobs announced this deal at a developer conference, the audience booed. They actually booed. To Apple fans, this felt like surrender, like defeat, like their hero had just shaken hands with the enemy. But Jobs stood on that stage completely calm and said something that revealed everything about his mindset. He said, Apple has to move past the notion that for Apple to win, Microsoft has to lose.
Now let's talk about what actually happened financially, because this is where it gets fascinating. $150 million sounds like a lot, but Apple's problems were so deep that money alone wasn't the solution. What the investment actually did was something more powerful. It bought Apple time and sent a signal to the market. When Microsoft invested in Apple, it told every bank, every supplier, and every customer, Apple is not going to die. That signal of confidence stopped the bleeding. This is called emergency bridge funding. It's not about the amount, it's about the message it sends. Jobs then made his pivot. He cut Apple's product line from 350 products down to just 10. 10! He eliminated everything that wasn't essential. Every dollar, every engineer, every hour of attention went into fewer, better things. In business, this is called capital reallocation, and it's the single most powerful financial move a struggling company can make. Within 1 year, Apple was profitable again.
Here's the psychology lesson inside this story, and it applies directly to your life. When most people face a crisis, they do one of two things. They panic and make random, desperate moves, or they freeze and do nothing, hoping the problem disappears. Steve Jobs did neither. Psychologists call what Jobs demonstrated the founder's mindset. It has three components. First, radical clarity. In a crisis, most people try to do more. Jobs did less. He eliminated everything that wasn't essential. Your brain in crisis mode craves action, but the right action is almost always subtraction, not addition. Second, enemy neutralization. Jobs turned his biggest competitor into his lifeline. He let go of his ego completely. Most people would rather lose than ask their rival for help. That pride is expensive. Third, long vision in short crisis. Jobs never stopped thinking about where Apple was going, even while fighting for survival. He was designing the iMac while the company was hemorrhaging cash. He held both realities simultaneously, the emergency of today and the vision of tomorrow.
What happened next is one of the greatest comebacks in business history. 1998, the iMac launches. Apple makes $309 million profit in 1 year after losing $1 billion the year before. 2001, the iPod, the iTunes Store. Apple enters the music industry and dominates it. 2003, Apple becomes the most valuable music retailer in the world. 2007, the iPhone, the product that changes everything. 2011, Apple becomes the most valuable company on Earth. All of this from a company that was 90 days from bankruptcy in 1997. All of this because one man made one phone call he didn't want to make. All of this because of emergency funding, radical focus, and a founder who never confused short-term crisis with long-term defeat.
Now here's why this story isn't just about Apple. You have had your 1997 moment. Maybe you're in it right now. A financial crisis, a career collapse, a business that isn't working, a dream that feels 90 days from dying. The Apple story gives you a framework. Step 1, stop the bleeding. What is the one thing draining your resources right now? Cut it, not later, now. Step 2, make the call you don't want to make. Ask for help, ask for the investment, ask for the partnership. Let go of your ego before your ego lets go of your dream. Step 3, cut everything except your best 10%. Your energy, your time, your money. Concentrate them. Scattered resources build nothing. Focused resources build empires. Step 4, keep designing your iMac. Even while you're in crisis, keep working on your future. The people who survived their 1997 are always the ones who refused to stop building their 2007. Apple didn't survive because they were lucky. They survived because their leader understood something most people never learn: that your worst moment and your greatest comeback are separated by nothing but one decision. What's the one decision you've been avoiding that could change everything? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. And if this story gave you something, subscribe. Because every week I tell the stories they don't teach in school about money, mindset, and the psychology of people who refuse to quit. Watch this next video right here. I'll see you there.